Welcome, bestie. That's my preferred monitor for you. But for those who don't know, I'd like to introduce Miss Kamona Burton, otherwise known as Mona Made It. And one of the great things about what you do is the fact that you explore not just the area of chef, which you're a professional chef, but you experiment with all different areas of crafts of the artisans in order to highlight the different craftsmanships that Jamaica has, And so today we'll be talking about the interconnection of tasting and smelling. So we are now bringing food and the perfumery together, okay, to highlight the similarities. And I've always said to persons that we talk about siblings. We had covered about fashion and perfumery are siblings, and so today we want to show that, and it comes down to tasting, how deeply interconnected tasting and smelling are. There is not a moment of customizing a perfume where smelling is not involved. That's how you experience, that's how you get to define different notes and what you want in your perfume. It's from that point of view that satisfaction can be had. Now, in your experience of creating food in any type, how important is tasting for you, for your clients?
Extremely important.
Extremely important.
Yes, that's the end result. Everyone wants something that tastes amazing. Mm-hmm. But before we get there, scent, smells, I would say it's more important than tasting to me as the creator. Mm-hmm. And the person or the people are appreciating the creation. They're more concerned with taste.
With taste.
Right. So let's just say I had a stuffy nose. I'm sure the entire day everything going to taste off. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
And that has to do with the cranial nerve, actually. That there's the interconnections. And so oftentimes persons really realize that when they get sick, whether it be from the nasal passage or even the eyes, that you'll find there's a connection. And hence the way of the ENTs, the ears, nose and throat, doctors has to take care of this problem because they realize the interconnection. But I want to speak a little bit about the cranial nerve and how it affects and how it allows us to distinguish and to dissect and to actually eventually make our choices when it comes down to tasting. So the actual function. So I'm putting something onto the taste buds, right? And then I get that nostalgia or probably that dislike for the particular taste. Now, how does it affect for you a smell? Is it possible to taste something you don't like, but at the same time it is smelling good?
Yes, definitely.
Quite possible.
But you'll find more common that something will taste amazing, but smell terrible. Example, durian.
Durian. What is durian?
So it's an Asian fruit. It kind of looks like a soursop, but with bigger spikes. It smells like rotting garbage. Some people would go as far to say rotting meat. But it tastes sweet. It tastes kind of citrusy, almost like honey. But something that we can look towards in Jamaica, for example, is tinkinto. That fruit.
And that name, I think, would come from the fact that how it smells.
Right.
But we'll find a lot of persons have a deep liking for that.
Right.
Yes.
Because it tastes like banana ice cream to me. But some people would say maybe it tastes like milk powder, but they'll never say it tastes bad.
Right.
But that is only if you can stomach it enough to get it from your nose to your mouth, So I can't really think of anything that works in the reverse, something that smells amazing but tastes terrible. I think that comes down to preference or maybe artificial food flavorings. They'll smell great, but they taste like chemicals.
Right. Now we're going to get into that because we're going to talk about the sourcing of our ingredients and the importance of that. And so what I find a lot is that you'll have several persons will smell the same note, but they have in different association. So one person will say, well, this smells like medicine. Another person will be wowed by it. And I find that in perfumery, the scent association has to do largely with your experience. Probably where you were when you initially had the experience with a particular scent. And so, even if you're smelling a beautiful perfume and you're in an hospital at the time that you're smelling, there's somehow, when this is being archived or being stored away into the brain, now in the subconscious, there's still that memory, the association or what you were going through at a particular time. And this is the reason why I've always said to persons, scents are subjective. And I wouldn't want you to choose a scent for even your best of friend. Because what a scent is saying to you, chances are more than likely it is saying something different to the person. Even though it is the very same product that you're smelling. Now, in order to, what is big for me is about, because you touched on it, so I want to go right into the quality of our product. Because, see, when I'm sourcing ingredients, there are particular places that I choose to buy from. Though pricing is important, for me, most importantly, is quality. So, I'll get a particular oil from a provider, and it's just not the same quality. When you're mixing something, it's not the same. The longevity might be off, might be, shortened somehow. And I find too that sometimes I'm eating, for example, curried goat. The curry is the same curry, and so why is it that the taste sometimes the same curried goat, the seasoning that is being used? So let us isolate the meat. The meat is where we get from a different source. Why is that? So it's a goat from, say, America or Africa, and a goat from Clarendon, and they're both, they are goats. But when you cook, it's a different. Why is that, you find?
Because they're not all goats.
They're not all goats?
No. If you're using something like local mutton, it's likely sheep. So, not local. Imported sheep. So Jamaicans will source the cheaper cuts, so like the older sheep from other parts of the world, and they'll come here because we can utilize it in stews. We don't need to serve it rare or medium rare. We do long, slow, in-depth cooking processes with lots of seasoning. Therefore, the quality doesn't necessarily need to be at its best. But we can taste the difference in local mutton. It's usually sweeter, it's usually a little bit more tender, because that animal is in our climate and it has been treated differently.
Right.
But it's not as meat.
So climate is important.
Right.
Right. And it's the same thing in perfumery.
Right.
Climate, very important factor as to what the result of a particular oil will be. For example, we boast about the Jamaican castor oil. So when a castor oil is being extracted and prepared in other regions, it will be different. So it can be affected by the climate. So a lot of things are grown in different geological areas, and you have the result just amazingly different. And so climate, those factors also affect the quality of a particular product. And so seasoning too, because I noticed a lot of persons like to import seasonings from Jamaica. Now in the diaspora comes in, they'll always want to get the Jamaican seasoning because there's an obvious difference. What is that? Outside of the climate?
I mean, we could go into the biology, the botanical treatments that we have in Jamaica.
Right, the treatments.
Right, so we have the temperature to consider. We have the fact that rain falls a certain amount of times, and we have different soil here. So something as simple as Scotch bonnet or even yam from Jamaica, it tastes so different than when you go somewhere else. And I'll bring in another example. This one doesn't have to do with the climate really. Sourdough. So my friend was having a discussion with me about how San Francisco is where they have the best sourdough because it's so high above sea level and there's the yeast in the air. Because when you're making a sourdough starter, you don't actually put the dried yeast in it. It draws from the yeast in the air and in the flour that you use, and it makes such a better quality product that San Francisco is known for its sourdough. So somewhere like Florida wouldn't make good sourdough. Jamaica maybe if you're in the Blue Mountains. So it comes down to certain different factors for that specific dish or ingredient as well. So when it comes on to curry, Jamaicans love their better pack. They love their curry, right? That green curry, because of the way that it has been blended for us. It's not a product that we particularly make, but it's blended for us over history a certain way. So it comes down to the nostalgia of it as well, not necessarily the climate.
Okay. All right. Now, so again, my sibling, in blending, the ultimate idea is to make sure that the fragrance is to the client's satisfaction. Now, in order to achieve this, there must be an harmony, especially the fact that you're using more than one, we'd say, flavor in the area of chef and here notes. We blend the conventional way of blending. We use a pyramid formulation where we have top notes, and in the top it could be from a single note to hundreds of notes, the heart of your perfume and the base. And we have to make sure that these notes are blended in a very harmonious way in order, because what you'll find, and for example, there are particular notes that will just make when you're finished blending, it becomes flat. You're not experiencing any individual notes. So measurement is very important in our perfumery. How is that? Have you ever put seasoning together and upon tasting it, you're not tasting the single and not highlighted the way you'd want them to be?
Yes. So an example would be when you're cooking for a specific cuisine. So for example, Chinese food or Asian food, they have what is called the Holy Trinity. That's ginger, scallion, and garlic. Once those are in it, it is a Chinese dish.
It is a Chinese dish. Does it matter if it's the powder or the organic?
Some would say yes.
I know the powder can be organic because they could dry some of the seasoning and then get them into powder form. But I'm saying usually if you're using the powder contrast to using a fresh picked scallion and the ginger and the garlic, you find a difference?
Yes. Definitely. Yeah. The water content is important because fresh, for example, basil is very different from dried basil. Fresh thyme, dried thyme, very different. So like for Jamaican food, to make sure it tastes like Jamaican food, what do you think are Holy Trinity? Just think of 3 things that are definitely Jamaican in a food, and you'll know it's a Jamaican dish.
And it's a Jamaican. And especially in your season, I guess the oxtail, like I could go someplace
anything
like,
at all.
Not.
Even tofu. 3 things. I'll tell you. Pimento. Definitely pimento. Scallion and thyme. So might say Scotch bonnet, but that depends on who you are, what level of spice you can handle. But those 3 things in any dish, it's a Jamaican dish.
It's a Jamaican dish. So I find garlic to be very pungent. So have you ever introduced, I would say, too much or used too much garlic, and so it overpowers and you're tasting mostly garlic? Because what I find, like in the Russian community, is that their food will be high on the garlic, and for a specific reason. It's been very intentional, I guess, also for medical purposes.
And what they have available.
In terms of proportion, does it matter how much of the Trinity each one that you put in order to create a balance, or
Yeah, definitely. So for Chinese food, you put too much ginger in it, you will lose that whole effect. Put too much garlic, you lose the effect. Not so much the scallion.
right?
So the balance is important, but the thing is, everyone has their own balance. So you mentioned the curry goat, you go here it's different, there it's different. There, for a lot of cultural dishes, there's no recipe. Every family has their own, and it was what everybody liked. But at the end of the day, with no recipe, the ingredients are more or less the same.
More or less the same.
Right. So the balance is the balance for you, or the balance that you find desirable.
Good. But there are certain components in perfumery. They are so strong that if you put too much of, or they're not diluted in the proper proportion, you'll find that they become overpowering. And so the perfume becomes flat, or you're only smelling that one note. So there's no harmony in it. And one I'll always mention is aldehyde. If you don't know to use a particular component, you will. And so persons usually take different scents and they mix a trial and error. And I'll take a Club de Nuit, I'll take a Sauvage, Versace Eros, and they'll mix them. But what you'll find sometimes, they'll get a good scent, but you'll find sometimes is that a particular notes can somehow, the notes are there, but it becomes flat. And so an amber in a particular might not be highlighted as it was, or a powdery dry down that you have is no longer there. You mentioned culture just now. How important has culture been of an influence in terms of how do you infuse what you have learned from different culture into your making of different food?
It's extremely important. Because I can make a really great oxtail that's amazing in Miami, but I bring it to Jamaica and then ask me what is. Right? Same with fruitcake or certain pastries. What we call pastry in Jamaica, a French person would not step on it. It's just.
And by would not step on it, what do you? Yeah, what not? You would not step on it.
What we like, meaning. We're not too concerned about butter and sugar the way that's their holy grail, butter and sugar. Jamaica, not so much, because during history, certain things weren't readily available to us, right? And also with our climate, butter is not something we really use. We might use margarine. Everyone thinks margarine is butter, but that's because margarine is more heat stable. So that's why we got that. So you really have to change your way of cooking, your recipes sometimes, for where you are, and also what's readily available.
So that's customization. So you customize based on from a single client to a group to even a country or the ethnic background. You customize accordingly, and so being exposed to different cultures, have given you that ability to do in your craft to customize accordingly. Well, for us, for example, the PrinceD'Bruce perfume house, when we're customizing, I've lived in 15 different countries. So of course, being influenced by different backgrounds, from French to the Latin, the English, you name it. And I find that if I'm when I'm creating a perfume from someone from a European descent or lives there for quite some time, that most times they'll insist on having the base being oud. And I'm thinking that one of the reasons is also because of the climate. And so the wood, that strong scent, the woody base wood, is what they're mostly used to. So when they're giving something flowery, it's not. So it has influenced my creation, the craftsmanship in terms of how. Also, what that's done is allowed, and I'm not going to say us, I'm going to go ahead and say us, in terms of being innovative. Because I've found that one of the greatest learning tool is the experience, and
Nothing beats that.
nothing beats that. You're able to somehow take from each place and person and create your own, because then we're going for originality. I don't want to be creating the very same perfume that every other perfumer creates. I like to challenge myself first. And so, persons will bring in perfumes from their designer brands, and my job is to make it better. But outside of that, I want to always create a masterpiece. And so, a lot of times I go to restaurants, and not everything is unique to Jamaican. So we are introducing, different menus for different tastes. What are some of the things that you have learned that you find that when you introduce to Jamaica, it has a wow effect?
A wow good or a wow bad?
A wow good.
Jamaicans really love things that are similar to Jamaica.
That are similar.
Right. So we don't like change. That's why I asked wow good or wow bad.
You don't like change, right?
Right. So, for example, oxtail is now, we keep coming back to these different stews. Oxtail is now the fad thing when it was peasant food only a few years ago. Anything to do, if we're introducing something like, say, a pot pie, we have to put our Jamaican twist on it, or it just won't do. It just won't do well. So I had an oxtail pot pie the other day. We're having oxtail pastas. Pasta is Italian. Italians don't do anything with oxtail. We need to have our Jamaican twist to it before we can properly introduce it. So I'll definitely say Jamaicans aren't the most receptive when it comes down to changing food. You might argue with me on that. You might.
Yes. But I find quite a few. I don't know if necessarily when the new restaurants are open, is that they go there to try the different menu, or they're mostly attracted to the style, the ambiance of the.
We love hype.
We love the hype.
Yeah, we love hype.
The people, right?
This place, bossy.
Yeah, both the people.
Right, but at the end of the day, we come back to what is familiar.
It works for me though, because I do a reverse now, because perfumes are not developed in Jamaica. They're not crafted here. I get now to introduce our own spices.
Yep.
And so this is something that able to invoke memories and bring them back into that warmth. And so we're going to go into the psychology of food and of perfume as well. So when I'm punctuating a scent with some sativa, and some hemp, there is that relationship, and the fact that they have never really experienced a perfume with a coffee note that is an obvious note, or some sativa note. I find that they're very receptive. It's new, but this newness is something that they're used to.
Because we love to see ourselves in things.
We like to see it. And hence customization works well. And so persons, the reviews have always been great, because when you customize, it is yourself that you're bottling, really. Your personality, your own dream, your own likes and dislikes. Well, you're not going to bottle your dislikes.
No.
But great. So the next point of conversation that I want to touch on is how do you gauge the review of a customer? So you're prepared a dish. Is there any particular technique that you use to gauge the person's response in order to better serve your client base?
I think at the beginning, when I was fresh out of culinary school, that was a concern to say, okay, I want everybody to like what I put out. Right, I want this. But outside of controlling the salt content or the sugar content in something, I think as a chef, you really have to go in and present yourself, what you love, and who loves it, who doesn't, it's not for you. And that's okay. I'll make changes or I won't, because It doesn't mean anything malicious or hype or anything of the sort.
Right, because you could find 90% of a customer base or person that walk into your establishment liking a particular thing. It doesn't mean the other 10% are going to like it.
Right.
And you have to know how to keep those 10%. Right.
Or find something that the 10% would prefer. Because just because they don't like it doesn't mean they're wrong.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I'm wrong either. It's just not suited for them. Just like I'm sure you have lots of fragrances that you love.
Right.
But somebody else might not necessarily appreciate it the same way, or they might not like it at all.
You know, so this is what I've been doing. One, I like that intimacy of being right there with you when you're creating. So I'm getting that immediate feedback. So a lot of the feedback is verbal. But for me, most of the feedbacks are the non-verbal. I look for that.
Same.
Yes,
Same.
the psychology of, I'm looking for the response. I'm looking for the shoulder moves. I'm looking for the eyes. I'm looking for when the eyes are shifting to somehow, and I realize, okay, they're trying to make an association. They might be having a deja vu moment, or they're trying to somehow say, is this me? So I'm looking for, so outside of just getting a feedback, a read from my review from the website, there's that one-on-one, reaction. Because most of the time, persons, you have to lead them into even what they like, No, I mean, it's okay. Some persons don't mind to be, being led. So I find being there and being able to tweak as we go along. Because you get, miss, this is too salt, or you're doing a steak and this is too rare,
right?
And you're able to make the adjustment in real time. And so there, you have what this person likes, and we're able to, somehow.
Where we need to meet in the middle.
Yes, and so customization is amazing reaction, to get from that.
And everybody likes their own special touch.
Oh yes, their own special touch, because when they can identify a part of them into what is being created, whether it be the food or it's just like when I celebrated. Well, I didn't say I was part of the celebration, for birthday. When the person saw your picture on the cake, I don't think they worry about how the cake tastes, but just see the picture of the cake. And so we do that in the customization in perfume. You get to name your own perfume. Yeah, it is yours. Exclusively, the formula goes to you. We do not reproduce without your permission. It's just yours for life. Yeah, that's part of what we do. It's wonderful. I just want to continue to celebrate you, and those out there, I want to continue to celebrate with you. We have made it to this point of our conversation, and what I'll be doing now is what we call a blind test. I don't know if you guys do it in the chef industry. So we'll just be using our sense of smell to identify, say a different season, whether or not you've ever been blinded or no, you could just probably tell the smell of garlic or onion or any of your spices. So today, Mona made it. Let's go and do our blind test, okay?
Okay. So do I have my hand out? No?
Oh, now we're taking it to your nose. What are we smelling there?
Coffee.
Okay. I'd like you to take a sip, so I'm going to put your glass here and I'll explain why. Because when you smell anything, not just the molecules are in your nose, but it also goes to your throat. So it's a part of clearing your throat, and smell to clear the nasal palate as well. Okay, so I'll be introducing another scent.
Ooh,
no.
Wait. Smells familiar.
Smells familiar?
This one. It smells like my grandma, like in a good way. But what is it? Is it citrusy?
It is citrusy.
Neroni? You were saying that's what it was?
You want to take my job? It is neroli. So neroli is actually from the orange, the civil orange, when it begins to blossom. That's where we get the neroli from. Yeah, it's very nice. You find a lot of designers, fragrance designers, use a neroli. And well,
Wait,
another cleanse for you.
it says civil orange.
The civil orange, yes.
Yes, so lots of those trees were in her yard in Portland.
Oh, a lot of civil orange already.
Yeah.
You see? And I'm saying scent is one of our first learning tools. And even though she had those experiences as a little girl, somehow, somewhere, from some part, it's stored in her brain. She was able to access it. One guess, the neroli. Cleansing a little before I go with the other one. This one is going to take you way back. That's the only hint I'll give you.
Okay. Baby powder?
Oh, baby powder.
Baby powder.
Oh, it's a good thing I wasn't betting money. Okay, her finale. This one is going to be, well, who am I to say which one is going to be hard for you?
I take a sip.
A sip to clear the throat from all those scent molecules. Here we go.
It smells like hazelnut. It smells like Bath and Body Works. Like the store.
Okay.
It smells like autumn.
Use a lot in those Bath and Body Works.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, very. Is it giving you, what kind of vibe are you getting from it? I love when our clients or customers describe the scent in terms of how they're experiencing it.
It smells like October.
Like October?
October and
Person will be like, what October smells like?
And it smells like October, like, and I love October.
And you love October? Uh-huh. Okay, so could you put a name to it?
I don't know, but it smells very nutty, very vanilla-y.
Very nutty, uh-huh. So this one is the blueberry cheesecake.
I don't smell any blueberry.
The blueberry cheesecake. All right. Well, guess what? You did great. You did great. And I love when persons go through the olfactory experiences. A lot of times when persons are blending and they are confused as to which note to choose, I have them go through a blind test where only the brain actually is smelling. So you don't know the name. The name is not part of the influence. Just sense
Just
of
the
smell.
smell.
Okay?
That was fun.
It was more fun to blindfold you.
Okay.
So the question we get asked mostly during the podcast is about how can one get their own fragrance customized, having their own formulation. To answer that, all you have to do is to make your appointment at www.PrinceD'Brucefragrance.com. Visit us on Instagram at PrinceD'Bruce Fragrance. You could also WhatsApp us at 876-395-9043. And remember to share, like, and subscribe. Thank you. It's a pleasure, doing these breakdowns. Anything else you want to add to what we have been discussing?
No, this has been a great conversation. I love that coming from two different industries, we can find our common ground. And I really appreciate what you do. And there's so much to learn. There's so much you could teach me because at the end of the day, you're a chemist. And food is science. Fragrance is science. We're all scientists in one way or another.
So you're saying that we're doing science again?
Yeah, of course.
Or Ubakaba.
Yeah.
Science again. Okay.
Not that kind of science.
Okay.
Not that kind of science. But yeah, we have our white coats.
Well, I'll say science, because, sometimes when I'm making scent, I'm making a scent that is very intoxicating, where when a lady puts it on going to bed in her lingerie, that even if her partner is angry with her, no, I'm telling you, I really make sense with that intention in mind. Or when a guy walks into a room, a young lady wants to know, who is he?
Who's that guy?
Yeah, it's a conversational piece. And some of them are makeup pieces, and by makeup I mean, angry with you but just want to be next to you. when you're away, they just want to smell you, so they want you to hurry back home.
Yeah.
Kind of. So it's more than just an aroma.
Mm.
You know, just like I know when you're making particular foods, it's not just the taste. It's more than that. It's the nostalgia. You know, the experience. It is the memory that it will invoke. It is also that happy feeling that it will give, and most of all, being nutritious. Being nutritious.
Most of all, but for many people, last of all. But
For many people,
last of all.
Yeah.
But
It's about eat just about to satisfy the tongue. Huh?
Food is so important, and people give food its flowers, but everything is said and more. It will bring people back home. It can change a person's day.
Yeah, you say it will bring people back home, because I find that a lot of the Jamaican diaspora, when they come with that jerk chicken, so it will bring them back home.
Or even, let's not get as PC as jerk chicken, KFC.
KFC. Let me tell you this. So I've seen KFC in almost all the countries that I've visited, but the Jamaican KFC. Do you know that I see persons actually buy buckets of KFC to take back to the States or wherever you're coming from?
Yep. And KFC knows too. That's why they're not putting anything in stores. You'll fly here for it. Yeah. KFC can literally change somebody's day.
Literally.
Yes.
And so I go after that too in perfume. The difference with Kentucky and us is that you get your formula. You know what's in it.
You know what's in it.
Yeah, you know what's in it.
They don't want to know what's in it.
You know what's in it. So, we're here providing this service. I am happy to be doing it in Jamaica. It's, for me, it was about the money I'd have stayed in the States or somewhere else, but I'm loving being able to provide this service for my people. And because they deserve the best of anything that you can get on earth here. Jamaicans, I find to be very hardworking, and so they have their expensive taste, and they're very innovative. And so you talk about innovations, you want to make sure that Jamaicans have access to them.
And it's interesting that you even say that. I was very much prepared to come in here and find a foreign man, not a Jamaican.
Find a foreign man.
Yeah, not a Jamaican. So that is a pleasant surprise. Not that it's totally necessary. I'm open to other people coming to Jamaica and sharing their culture, but I think so many people will be excited that one of us is experiencing and showing us something that we're not particularly used to. And in a small way, I do that with my content, where I want to show Jamaicans, hey, go do that tour, go do that excursion. It's not just for the tourists, and that we have access to these things to use them.
One of the negatives for us is where we're situated, our location, not a lot of persons. When the taxi drivers don't know a particular location, you're in trouble. So that has been one of our uphill battle. But the benefit of being tucked away in a very private corner is that whenever persons come to blend, there is that privacy that they're able to, keep the ears off and the boots and just relax and have glasses of champagne and others that are being prepared, So that's the advantage, but of course, we want persons to know that we're here.
It is a luxury experience. It's not for everybody's niche, and I love where you are. I love that not everybody knows about it.
Oh, you love?
Well, it's for everyone. I'm going to show everybody, as many people as possible, but what I also love about it is that it's not a common thing just for the average person. You know that it is for the average person, but you have to come here with a certain frame of mind. You come here to experiment. You're not coming just to buy your regular fragrance. You're coming to try something new. And like I said, we don't like to try new things, but this, I think people have been receptive. Like I said, when I found out about you 2 years ago, all over all my socials, I was so excited to try it. I don't know why it took me so long to get here.
Well, you're here.
I'm here.
And look at it, man. Well, they say every journey takes what? A step at a time?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What is that? 1,000 steps here too? To get here.
Probably.
But you're here.
Have to leave and come back and do all the things.
I'm happy to have you, and we will be developing your own brand. You know,
Excited.
most exciting for us. You know, the Mona made it. Want to be able to showcase that, and we appreciate you being here today. And I'm not a foodie, and by that I mean in terms of eating large amount, but I love delicacies, and so just even looking where your setup right here, it, somehow calling me. Yes, calling me.
You'd make a great food critic.
Well, I'll come on one day and sit with you and do some tasting and find somebody aphrodisiac and how we can, because it's so beautiful. Like I said, it's siblings, because you'll find aphrodisiac in food and you'll find aphrodisiac in perfume.
True.
Yeah. So again, thank you.